Welcome in, everybody. It's the Dynasty Hour. It's your favorite late night Wednesday show. You can't do it without us. You know you love us. Well, at least you know you love the man to my right over here, Chuck Bass. I did it the wrong direction. I did it the way I'm looking at you rather than the way it's projected. But the man to my left for all the fans, Chuck Bass. How you doing, my friend? I know we've been bitching a little bit in the background. You and me were both feeling the same pain this year. But, I mean, it's a week-to-week game. How you feeling about this week?
I'm happy to be showing up to therapy tonight because that's what it feels like. I've never, as a man, been afraid to talk about my feelings and admit where it's all gone wrong. And it's never gone more wrong than it's been going this season. The models are trash. The analysis is garbage. And I mean my own personal stuff. But we have no choice but to move on, roll the ball into week 11. We got Devin A-Chain coming back. Hopefully Justin Jefferson coming back. Coaches on the hot seat. Offensive coordinators getting fired. Coaches are coming out of the booth and they're coming down onto the field. Like their changes are afoot. And as long as they impact my guys positively, I'm all for it.
Well, unless you had the 49ers defense, which I don't think you play with defenses anymore. If you're a dynasty fantasy guy, you probably play with either IDPs or you got rid of defenses and kickers a long time ago. But unless you did that and you had the 49ers defense, which in some of my archaic leagues, I still had the 49ers defense buried in there somewhere because I knew they were going to come out, then yeah, you are absolutely right. Steve Wilks affected it and infected it big time. Number one defense on the week. Just wanted to throw that shout out there.
Yeah, we've had it. This is what everybody needs to do. Matt Canada comes out of the booth and the Steelers score their first offensive touchdown on the first drive of the season and they win. Steve Wilks comes out of the booth, slaughterhouse. It just needs to be the new norm. Like, let's keep it going. Get Vic Fangio out of the booth and get him down on the field.
Vic Fangio out on the booth. What can we do about Brandon Staley? Can we throw him in the booth? Is that gonna have the reverse effect? Is his defense gonna do better because they don't see him on the field?
Brandon Staley feels like the first guy that the first head coach to not be on the field. That feels like the next reasonable progression for him. Get him up into the booth and then let Kellen Moore just run the show.
Yes, 1000%. It'll be like a little experiment. The Spanos could spin it, be like, "Hey, Brandon, we just want to try this. Can you work with us for a second? Go in the booth, stay away from the field." Because the vibe is just different when you're on the field. It's not so good on defense.
It is. He's blowing it. He's blowing it big time.
For sure. Well, you know who's not blowing it anymore? And that's Justin Fields. Whatever, blowing smoke because of his thumb or whatever the hell was going on. But he looks like he's returning to practice this week. Got a limited practice in today. Set to return. We got Freiermuth also set to return. Devon A-Chain, maybe the most important one, is set to return as well to practice. And then Michael Carter officially cut from the Jets. I don't know if he was the problem, but when you're having big problems in the house, you gotta kind of let a dog loose. You gotta kind of change something up in there, and maybe getting a new. I don't know. They didn't get a new running back. I was going to say maybe getting a new running back in the mix. Nah, they didn't really get a new running back in the mix. But maybe just getting some new vibes in that running back room. Maybe he was holding them back with those vibes, right? Chuck, tell me, out of all these guys, which one are you the most excited about? Which one really gets you going at night and really makes you sleep well?
If we're talking about who you just went over with, it's got to be Michael Carter going to the Cardinals. No, God, no, absolutely not. Not with James Conner coming back. God, just another list of guys I've put too many eggs in the basket of him coming back. You know what? We'll save Devin A-Chain because that one's obvious. Justin Fields coming back could be massive. Rushing quarterbacks need to make a comeback. We are on pace for the least amount of rushing quarterback yards of the last 5 years. Josh Allen's numbers are way down. Daniel Jones is out. Kyler Murray's been out. Anthony Richardson, obviously, taking the place of some of the other guys. He's been out. Tom Brady's gone, so we're losing all that rushing ability.
Oh man.
So somebody's
Master
got
of
to
the
like
QB sneaks.
yeah,
The original Jalen Hurts learned the tush push from Tom Brady.
it was the
That
greatest.
man always been squatting 600 pounds.
He was the best, and maybe we'll see him in Cleveland taking over Deshaun Watson. Who knows? But somebody has to step up and join Lamar and join Jalen Hurts. And obviously, it saves the Bears' offense as well. I mean, a couple of great catches from Cole Kmet 2 weeks ago is really saving a floundering passing game, which did show some signs of life once we hit that kind of week 4, week 5 stretch. Hopefully he can come back. Maybe he's learned a little bit. Maybe he's plays with a little bit more fire because, while Tyson Bagent, he has less followers than you and I, Justin, but he did show a little bit of fire, a little bit of fight, a little bit of funk. So I don't know. Maybe he comes back and turns some thrusters on.
I think you absolutely nailed it. I think that what they need to do is they need to figure out how to get Justin Fields being comfortable going on the field and not giving a damn like Tyson Bagent and just going out and playing. Because, I mean, it's the Bears. Expectations shouldn't be there anymore because it's the Bears. Just go out there and play, kid. Just go out there and throw the ball around, run a little bit, find a guy, do some Russell Wilson shit where you're like running out to the right, you do some goofy ass spin move, run out to the right and you find your receiver. I mean, let's just improvise a little bit. When you're sticking to the script, you're either getting sacked or you're getting injured, and it's just not looking so good. So do a little Tyson Bagent this week and just go out there and have some fun, Justin Fields. Why so serious? Let's put a smile on that face for sure.
Do it. I like that a whole lot. Did you know, and maybe you did know this because you're a smart guy, that the Chicago Bears have the #1 rush defense in the NFL? Like, they have talent on this team. They can put their offense in good game script, and they can put their offense in good field positions. And the pass defense is mediocre, which is not horrific. So, I mean, there's opportunity, maybe not to make a run, but to show ownership and whoever this new general manager is going to be coming in that these players might deserve a new contract and or a future with the team.
Oh, man, don't get Eberflus all hot and bothered over there thinking he can keep his job. Oh, no. I've got a Bears friend, and I'll tell you what, my boss is actually a Bears fan, and he's admitted that he stopped watching football after 85 because he's just like, you hit the peak, and you're just like, afterwards, it was just all straight downhill, like a burning plane coming out of the sky. It just barreled straight into the ground, and it's just never come up again.
What is that like? Is that like that humble Midwest attitude of like, well, probably good? Like the guy I've just never had that. I live my life in excess, and I don't know if that's an East Coast thing, if it's a Florida thing, or what. But I'm always chasing the next high.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's just a positive fan base thing. I mean, we all know those friends that are Jacksonville Jaguar fans or Houston Texan fans. They've never seen much success in their entire existence.
It's coming. It's coming. Hold on. It's coming in drones.
Let's go, CJ Stroud. Don't be Dak Prescott 2.0. Because there's only room for one Dak in Texas, don't you know? Oh,
but there's room for one in Jacksonville.
Hey-o.
Foreshadowing.
Guys, this episode, like my friend Chuck is doing right here, beautiful. It's a beautiful transition. It's about panicking. Because we are dynasty owners and we are guys that just love to look into the future and we love to buy players for their value going forward. And these guys are just making us like quiver. We're just like, oh, Jesus, we really have to deal with these guys for the next 2 to 3 years. Is Jag ready? Is he coming in?
Ooh, is it theme music?
Should we give him some theme music?
We have the technology. We'll have to work on that. I love when people get to see how the sausage is made and what we were actually thinking.
We should all get our own individual theme music. It could be like wrestling. Just like when one of us pops on, just like the glass breaks and it's like, oh geez, it's stone cold. But anyways, let's start it out, Chuck. Let's not go straight to the obvious one, Trevor Lawrence. Let's start it out with Breece Hall. On a scale of 1 to no, where are you with the panic meter? Are you at that point where you're like, this offense just sucks, I gotta sell him for whatever value he's at, or are you holding out for this team to possibly pull through this Zach Wilson funk and get on to next year?
Why don't you bring Jagger in on here so I can say it to his face?
Hold on, let's see if he's ready.
He's ready. He's in the chat saying he wants in. Let me in. Yeah. You're mute. You're mute, big dog.
I was about to say I've been waiting on you guys.
I will say,
I was surprised you can't just bring yourself in.
I'm not logged in to StreamYard.
No, you're good. Come in hot and give us your 1 to 10 Breece Hall panic meter.
I'm at like 4. And for Dynasty standpoint, redraft, there might be a little bit more to worry about, but I'm way cool. And I've said this in a couple of places. Like I said this on Football Guys, that a lot of Breece Hall's production has just been called back from poor offensive line play. Their best offensive linemen have been injured. Zach Wilson, believe it or not, do I think Zach Wilson is a week-to-week starter? Probably not, at least on this team. But he's played much better than what he has last year. To give credit where it is due, I think that the offensive line is the biggest problem here, not as much Zach Wilson. Garrett Wilson is leading the league in targets. Zach Wilson knows where the ball's got to go. He knows where it's got to go. And he may make a couple of bad plays, but overall, back to the original point of Breece Hall, this is affecting the entire offense as a whole. So I'm not stressed whatsoever.
I'll echo that sentiment, and I'll price is right and go 3.9. I feel really good about Breece Hall going forward, mainly just because of a lot of the reasons that he just said. But also, they just aren't allowed to play like a normal NFL offense. They have the yips as a team, and it's because of what happened on September 11th. And that sounds really weird, actually, coming out of my mouth. Maybe we'll get the editors on.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know what you mean, but I know what you mean.
Let's get the editing day on that.
That was just too coincidental right there, right?
Yeah, you're we're still fucked up about September 11th.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right about everything. They also, they have a lot of kinks to work out because they fired Matt LaFleur. They let Matt LaFleur go in the offseason, who was a terrific Shanahan disciple as far as the run game goes, which just absolutely paired perfectly with Breece Hall. And they're really struggling with that this year because everybody knows they have to run and everybody knows they can't block. So it's just like a really perfect storm. But those are really, I'm not going to say they're easy things to fix in the offseason, but you can definitely at least jump up into the mediocre, and especially with Aaron Rodgers coming back. So he's just one of those guys that people have a bad taste in their mouth this year because, things like, he's getting pulled in for Michael Carter on drives because, they don't want him to get hurt. And Michael Carter's catching 5 passes in one drive. He's just one of those players that has a little anti-buzz about him this year, but it'll come back around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely a little bit more worried than you guys, but I don't think I'm much. I think I'd probably put it at about a 5, maybe close to a 6. And that's just because, you guys have pretty much nailed it. This offense is shit. And, as much as we've gloated about their picks in the past, not a lot of them have really panned out to be much. I mean, we're still kind of waiting for Elijah Vera Tucker to be that all-world guard that we thought he could be. Lincoln Tomlinson, the pickup from the 49ers, doesn't look so good because the system isn't necessarily what he was brought in to be, because Matt LaFleur, like you guys said, is gone. Or is Mike LaFleur? Matt LaFleur is the.
You're right. Yeah, right? Mike LaFleur.
Yeah.
LaFleur.
Yeah, Mike LaFleur. But yeah, so I am a little bit worried, but at the same time, the fact that he's healthy right now, and the fact that he's still making chicken soup out of chicken shit. Like these random touches that he's getting, he's still breaking them for 70 yards. He's still looking like he's got all that speed after the ACL surgeries. It is promising. It's just one of those situations, and I've eaten crow off it in the past. CJ Stroud, I'm eating crow this year with that. I said bad situations can sometimes make good players look bad. He's obviously bucked that. But for Brees, knowing everybody out there is just scheming to stop him, that kind of makes me go, is he Derrick Henry? Can he do the impossible like Derrick Henry's done for so many years? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if I see quite that level of greatness in Brees Hall.
I'll finish a point by pointing a question at you guys, or at least finish my point on it. It's I'm more worried about Hackett and Rodgers than I am about Brees Hall or any of the other individual assets, because I think that the deeper issue is that Hackett's offense fucking sucks without Aaron Rodgers. It's because it lets Aaron Rodgers do whatever he wants at the line of scrimmage, and it fits him. But everyone else fails in this offense, including someone who has obvious more talent like Russell Wilson. So I think it's like those two things are the problem. And I think firing Mike LaFleur was dumb, like in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like I think it was a really bad idea. And to be honest, like I know this is crazy and we're getting out here. I think Zach Wilson would do great over in the 49ers. Like I think he'd be fucking phenomenal over there.
Keep that keep these Sam Darnold takes alive with a different skin on.
Oh, I didn't even think of it like that, but it really is. Yeah, it really is the Sam Darnold thing.
Sure.
Cool. So you guys want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, man. We got Trevor Lawrence, keep trade cut, number 22, quarterback number 10. The reason why I took over is literally Chuck said in the group chat, players you're pissed at. I'm fucking furious about Trevor Lawrence, man. Like one of my best rosters, I traded Joe Burrow for Trevor Lawrence, and then the pick that would be Anthony Richardson. I was giggling for months about that. Like just happy whenever I needed to tug one out so I could go to sleep at night. I would look at that roster. And now look at me now where I'm looking. I literally
just a sad tug instead.
Yeah. I had Justin Jefferson on that roster as well. Like I have so many questions because like I'm at a point that like I guess there's a lot of things to go on. He's now number 22, which is at the back half of the first round in a startup, assuming same value. And that doesn't even include where the draft picks are. So it could be a little higher, a little lower. And then he's a QB 10, definitely and this is all super flex. Is he a good, is he good? Is he bad? What is Trevor Lawrence? I'll start with you, Justin.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a little bit of fool's gold. I think you can see him on fantasy and he looks a little bit okay, but at the same time, like he's that guy who gives you that really, and outside of last week, of course, that really, really safe floor. But I've never really seen him go above and beyond his ceiling. You know what I mean? He's never really blown the top off of the stat sheets for me. And I think that's he kind of rides that line of what Aaron Rodgers was in his prime, where he'd be like, okay, I could put up 220, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. And on a really good day for Trevor Lawrence, it's no picks. And that's kind of what you get. And you kind of just go off of his stock as being the number 1 overall pick, a generational quarterback. And now the narrative of him being in the right system with the right coach. But I was right there with you, Jag. I drafted Trevor Lawrence everywhere, and it's surprising to me that he's even QB 10 because I've been looking at him on the stat sheets, and I'm just like, how are you QB 10? Every week I kind of like scrunch my eyes and go, what? I scrunch my face at the stats for my teams, and I go, God damn, dude, the other quarterback did way better than my quarterback. And it would be like Sam Howell or Anthony Richardson or some other fucking jabroni for this year that wasn't a top 10 freaking guy.
You can blame the Achilles tendon for that ranking.
Yeah, and it's and I actually I'm just for a good exercise. I'm building my own rankings database, so I can rank every week and stuff like that. And it just,
Mhm.
I don't know, if you do a bunch of
Sure.
start sits as I do, it's like the
Mhm.
best way to kind of comprehend the advice that you're giving people. So like,
Yeah.
I actually did my dynasty rankings, put them on Twitter today, and I have Trevor Lawrence as 13, and that's putting Justin Fields and Dak Prescott ahead of him. I really had to
Mhm.
think about Jared Goff. Then after that, it's all kind of one big
Mhm.
quagmire of shit that I don't know if I like, Sam
Yeah.
Howell, Bryce Young, Josh Dobbs. So like, you really think about it, Trevor Lawrence is the tail end of the starting quarterbacks that at least have job
Mhm.
security. Like, that's kind of where he's at, if you really think about it. Or they're like rookies, like Bryce Young, where he's like dog shit, and I don't know when he's going to be good, but it's not anytime soon.
Bryce Spice taking strays or catching
Yeah.
strays. I love it.
So Chuck, where are you at with Trevor Lawrence?
I really watch a lot of what's happening here because I love a good train wreck, and I really have a lot of trouble putting a lot of it on him. I think that they have the worst pass blocking line in the league.
Yep.
He's getting pressured more than even Daniel Jones was on throws where he needs more than 2.5 seconds to drop back and let it rip. And they're not calling plays to run guys downfield. And when they do, it's Christian Kirk. And look, I like Christian Kirk, but like, you need to have an alpha for a lot of the plays, and they're just not getting that Calvin Ridley production like we were hoping that they would. It's just tough, and we know that the team is going to try and like death by 1,000 paper cuts to win. Then smart defenses can just sit underneath and they just take all that stuff away. And that's part on top of the bad offensive line. That's part of why, and it's hard to watch. So it's like, I think he can be like a Dak, right? To where like you give him time and he'll be able to just slice you all over the field. But what prevents him from like that Burrow Herbert range, he really struggles against the blitz, and he doesn't really look downfield to kind of make those like devastating counter punches that you want to see if you're going to be somebody who's not really doing a lot with their legs. So you can see the talent there. He's an unbelievable processor, but there's just like it's like a sandwich that has a bunch of ingredients that are good on their own, but it doesn't make a good sandwich. That's what it feels like with Trevor Lawrence for me.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. The only thing I'm going to attack on is like another massive problem is that I just don't think they fixed their wide receiver one problem. Calvin Ridley isn't the same guy he was before. I heard a stat somewhere, probably it's probably Kevin or something like that. I don't know. Like, I would look at football guys stuff all day. But like, I think it was like 46% win rate against man coverage, which is incredibly poor. And then it makes me question Doug Peterson, because I don't feel like they're creatively fixing that. Because like, Calvin Ridley can still be a good player. Just shift to Christian Kirk. That'll be your guy. Evan Ingram's your guy. Move him around the formation. Maybe use him bunch, like maybe put him in the slot. Like, don't continually put him out there as an X. So like it makes me question Doug Peterson a little bit.
Like with CeeDee Lamb, that's exactly how the Cowboys,
Yep.
of course, like, we're going to go to Mike McCarthy. Like, are you kidding me? This guy's the shining example, but like, Calvin Ridley gets pressed more than anybody in the league except for DeAndre Hopkins. And it's because they just have him in the same spot, running the same route tree. It's so hard to watch.
And if we're seeing that, NFL sees that, like, they'll probably have someone just stick on him. We'll let zone and everything else work out with Christian Kirk, and then we'll put pressure on Lawrence, and like that. And then it's it's easy to dictate. Justin, you have anything else before we move on to our next guy?
Yeah, we got a question in for you guys. So Debbie Royals coming in. Can you explain why Dynasty Leagues should not have trade deadlines? I'm going to let you guys handle this one.
I got you.
I was about to say, I said it today, man. I said it today. I feel like I've been on this train. Kevin Coleman said something. I kind of reiterated, and it was like this ripple where everyone's just like, don't do trades. Then there's this other ripple. Everyone's like, fuck you. I hate when there's competition and stuff like that. And then I just think people are too afraid that it'll kill their chances that someone else made a trade during the playoffs or tail end of the season. Like, to me, it just, I get that we try to replicate the NFL, but for Dynasty specifically, we got to keep people active. And and especially for rebuilders, to keep them active, if they feel like they could sell assets and think about the draft, it keeps them active. And again, all what happens is that like the rebuilders end up kind of selling their team and their life away, and then it gives them more incentive to trade back again in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it just creates a healthy amount of churn. So I don't know, like
it really feels like why if it feels, I can't even believe it's an option to not like, it's like feels like the entire part of like the entire, it feels as much of the fabric of Dynasty as like any other possible, other than the fact that you carry the team over next year. Like it feels like the whole sell. You know, James, a guy on Twitter, he really did point out, you know, we don't need to have this conversation every year. People are still playing non-PPR. You're never going to get everybody to conform to your specific preferences for league settings. That one was for Kevin.
Yeah, it's true. And it's just like, to me, what is it? Dave Chappelle said it best. Everybody fucks funny to somebody, you know, and it's kind of like that for fantasy as well. You know, you know, like people be doing some wild shit, but if I'm in a league, I'm going to be an asshole. We're not doing trade deadlines, and I will bitch and moan about it, and it causes problems until I get my way.
So, good. The mob, baby. Here. If you can't find a mob, make one. That's how it rolls.
Oh, they're pussies. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're being a pussy about it. Like, I think, yeah, exactly. It's just like,
Jag is a one-man mob over here. He can start a fucking riot all on his own.
Oh man. Speaking of riots, player that's hard to value, and it makes me want to riot because like the one startup I did this offseason is just fucking terrible, and I drafted T. Higgins on it. Like I drafted Stephon Diggs. I like moved up to win now. Got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, and Garrett Wilson. You know, again, another one where you roster bait to, and then you get like flaccid thinking about it here in week 10. T. Higgins is on KTC, ranked 44 for whatever that matters, and he's wide receiver 16. I'm still working on my rankings right now over at wide receiver. I have him a little bit higher than that. No, I have him wide receiver 17 actually. So that's sounds about right. But I do think this is a buy low thing, and he's a guy that I want on all my rebuilders. Chuck, we'll kick it back to you. What do you think about this? Is he someone that you want, or are you kind of done? You thinking about the offseason?
No, this is absolutely somebody I want. And this is where you really have to take yourself out of the emotional toll that the season wrecks upon you and is wrecking them upon me viciously, to where, you know, like I joined more even just redraft leagues just before the season started, because I was like, I don't have any T. Higgins. I want to get T. Higgins on a couple teams. And it's been an up and down year. I know, right? It's funny. Like that's a reason I joined a draft. Like that actually happened. And I didn't get him. So I had to join another one. It was like, come on, you gotta be kidding me. So, but it's,
you just kept going and going and going, chasing the dragon.
for T. Higgins, of all these guys. I think that T. Higgins is an incredible wide receiver, and I think he's better than his perception even is, because he has a generational player playing across from him. And I think he can absolutely be an AJ Brown, to the Eagles, a Diggs to the Bills, a DJ Moore to the Bears. Like I think he can absolutely have that kind of impact for a player. Or I think he can go somewhere and be like a DeAndre Hopkins, you know, almost like, I don't want to say a gun for hire because he hasn't played for that many teams, but you know what I mean? Just plug him right in and he's going to be able to give you immediate lower elite production. So I'm definitely trying to hammer him because he is going to get paid in the offseason. Yeah. So he'll have a firm role somewhere.
Like seeing how many wide receiver hungry teams there are out there, that and especially like how I think the market kind of leveled out where they're like, we're not going to pay Jacoby Myers, Christian Kirk money. We're not going to do that. Like I definitely think they're holding out for T. Higgins now, and he's going to be the belle of the ball. You know, there's just too many teams out there that could use him. You know, we could think of the obvious ones, the Panthers. Let's pray to God that shit turns around. Even I think the Texans is another good team. You know, like Nico Collins is good, but he ain't T. Higgins.
Yeah.
You know, so like I think that's another good fit. To believe it or not, I don't think they'll do this, but the Chiefs would be phenomenal. And I think that they need to be thinking about what their offense is going to look like beyond, you know, Kelsey and these other guys. Justin, where you at with T. Higgins? Are you a curveball, or you
no, you said everything I wanted to say. You know, I wanted to say Houston. I think Houston would be a perfect spot for him. They already got guys playing on rookie contracts anyways. It's a great transition. You know, Tank Dell is great, but imagine having Tank Dell in your slot and T. Higgins on your outside. I mean, that would be a great little matchup over there with CJ Stroud. I just honestly, I've always been I've been sour on T. Higgins. I've said it here. Like, T. Higgins to me has always kind of just been that number 2 who's never delivered. Like, Devonta Smith delivered last year. He's kind of delivered a little bit this year. Other teams have 2s that will go off, and T. Higgins just never has those like major go off weeks. He just doesn't really. He'll do it like once, maybe twice a year, and then it's just like done. And the rest of the year, he's 6 for 51, and you're hoping he gets a touchdown. But I can't wait to see what he looks like in a different uniform next year, because they can't pay Burrow and T. Higgins and whatever they need to pay on that defensive line too to keep that team afloat. So
that's where I'll push back slightly on that idea, because I think that he only delivers those blow up weeks and doesn't deliver like consistent 6 weeks, maybe like 7-week chunks of consistent top finishing, which I mean, a lot of wide receivers don't, but I know what you mean. Like, his production has really come from these really insane, like 3 to 3.5 week runs where it's like the beginning of the year or the end of 2021, where he's been insane, like league winning insane, but it's just, he's able to be pulled out of the game. So his production is able to be pulled off the shelf so quickly by just an insane Jamar Chase game.
Like, to me, if they nail the draft, it's if they do what the Steelers did. The Steelers fixed the offensive line. They finally got Broderick Jones. He's doing a really good job. If they fix that offensive line, find a running back that better fits their scheme than Dameon Pierce, or probably one or two of those things will do a lot for that running game. This is a contending roster right away. I think the defense is already good. D'Amico Ryans is good. We already see this offense now. And like I said, let's say they get T. Higgins and an offensive lineman. Holy shit. We had a trade question in the comments. If you could get that pulled up. As a rebuilder, would you trade Debo for a mid-second? Yes, but I might almost hold out for another Debo breakout game, or if that could happen, and then sell for a first during the playoffs. Because I think Debo is going to be worth the second. Like, that's going to hold. That's like the floor for him. But I
mixing the trade deadline talk in. I like it. Or the anti-trade deadline talk.
Exactly. Just hold out. And I'm giving you, like, I'm going Black Hat, man. This is why we don't have trade deadlines. It's like you play 4D chess. I would hold out, and then someone's like, you know what, I need Debo, or someone has a hammy problem, and then you can get that late first. Justin, you're the 49ers guy. What are you doing with Debo?
Oh yeah, no, I'm 100% on board with that. And the whole point behind no deadlines is the best time to sell some of your top end players if you're rebuilding is right around playoff time, because somebody's looking for a flex. As we've seen throughout the season, somebody's looking for a quarterback. You got a freaking Josh Dobbs over there that you can turn into a second. I mean, why not? Don't be the Arizona Cardinals. Don't cash your fourth in for a sixth. If you know what I mean. Don't undersell your product, whatever you sold it for, whatever you bought it for. Don't especially after it freaking matures, don't undersell. But I think it's a perfect idea to wait out Debo, because Debo's healthy. He's gonna have another good game. As they showed last week, you could literally get Debo going with one play, and then he'll have a breakout. So yeah, I would trade Debo for a second right now, and I would wait out to a first come playoff times.
And also, like, again, this is Dynasty. You don't have to just trade for picks. I would trade Debo. Like, again, I just did Dynasty rankings for receivers. I'll probably still make adjustments. I've got Debo. I'd feel comfortable tearing down to even Jahan Dotson. I know everyone fucking hates Jahan Dotson. He almost made the list today. I feel fine tearing down to
He
Jay
should
Reed.
be the list. He should be the poster boy for the fucking list.
I tell
you what, I drafted that guy off of this show's word, and I am very fucking disappointed.
Jesus, I should have put him on the show, man. I didn't feel
not his fault or our fault.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not your fault. It's his fault.
No.
Yeah, I would send Debo for Michael Wilson plus now before Michael Wilson probably gets expensive. After that, it gets a little weird. Okay. Just because we got a little bit of time, I'll throw this trade that I did today, yesterday. I traded DJ Moore and Ramondre for Keaton Mitchell, Tajay Spears, and a second. Here's another
you are in on Keaton Mitchell, you dog.
Yeah, here's another caveat. I traded a second for Josh Dobbs because I lost Daniel Jones, and Josh Dobbs is an upgrade to Daniel Jones. So I basically, the way I see that trade is because the second I bought was basically back to back to the one that I sold. I basically traded DJ Moore and Ramondre for Josh Dobbs, Keaton Mitchell, and Tajay Spears. So it's a lot of like to me, this again, this is why you don't have trade deadlines, man. And then I got another league with Josh Dobbs where I might get AJ Brown with Josh Dobbs and JSN.
Was it easy to let go of DJ Moore?
In that league, yes, because my receivers are stacked, and I bought James Cook, and that's a problem. So
it's a nationwide shortage on James Cook love right now.
Yeah, so I'd rather, because I was like, I know Tajay Spears probably is going to be pretty good, and the Titans really like him, and Henry's probably gone, and I'm not fucking up on these speedy boys again, who clearly NFL's moved to adjust to them.
Game changers.
So we'll pay the bill. Exactly. We'll pay the bills real quick, and then we'll jump back right into it to another guy that we love to talk about, but we've stopped, and now it's kind of time again. Apparently, we got a new sponsor. I need to update that on the sheet. The guy didn't introduce the element.
That's one of our newer sponsors, Pro-Am Sports Belts. But I just want to throw that in there because of that depressing ass trade. That trade made me not feel like a champion. I'm sorry, Jack. That trade, I was just thinking to myself, that is a whole lot for Keaton Mitchell right there.
Oh my God.
Too.
Get that second in there also.
Yeah, I was going to say a second. and again, Tajay Spears is anybody who basically any dynasty analyst is in on Tajay Spears. The normies still don't know. They're like Derrick Henry, but we all know all the peripherals say that Derrick Henry isn't the same anymore, and the Titans are ready. I mean, I think Tajay Spears starting out snap Derrick Henry now at this point. It's a slow thing. So I'm kind of buying. If anything, Tajay Spears is my hedge bet. I know he's going to be something, probably. I got a second that I'm going to spin well. Keaton Mitchell is the big play. And then again, to explain this roster, because I feel like I have to. I have CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, Brandon Ayuk, Zay Flowers. I have so many fucking receivers that half the time DJ Moore doesn't crack my lineup, if that makes sense. So I was willing to go gamble on something like a high bet, because again, it's my running backs that fucking sucked. I'm in on Dobbs, so I plugged the quarterback hole, because I have Joe Burrow at the top of it. So to give you context, that I probably wouldn't do that if DJ Moore was my wide receiver 2 or 3, but he was my flex barely. So
I got you. I got you.
All right, Kyle Pitts, guys. Keep trade cut, ranked 70. Which is significantly lower than he has been overall, but the tight end one doesn't look as far because he's still tight end 6. the real thing is now is like we all know there's nothing we could say about the scheme. I think we all think he's good. Arthur Smith is this fucking thing that doesn't go away. Like he's there, and we got to deal with it. It's kind of like living through an election cycle. You just got to shove through and go every day knowing you're going to be annoyed as fuck. So, but to like the main point here is like, where are you ranking him going forward, and where do you feel like buying him? I think all of us are probably putting Kincaid and Laporta over Kyle Pitts at this point. Are we there? Okay.
I absolutely am. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And none of us are putting Mark Andrews underneath him yet because Mark Andrews is still good. So I feel like that's like the top four are three at least are fine. I guess the real question is Trey McBride, because this is where I get weird with it, because like Trey McBride was a phenomenal tight end prospect. People forget about that. He was a Mackey winner. He was Colorado State's #1 wide receiver. And then like now he's finally broken out. Zach Ertz is likely done for real this time. Not like we kind of thought last year, like for real, he's probably done. So like, do you put Trey McBride above Kyle Pitts? Justin, we'll start with you.
Yes, I put Trey McBride above Kyle Pitts. And I think Kyle Pitts has a big disclaimer saying as long as Arthur Smith is his coach, you should not draft him, period. I have a question for you guys. Does Brock Bowers, not even drafted yet, rank higher in Dynasty for you guys than Kyle Pitts right now?
That was going to be my next question. Yes, he does for me. He does.
Exactly. How far are you willing to go into that class? Are you willing to go to like Jatavion Sanders being better than Kyle Pitts now in Kyle Pitts' current situation?
No, not right now. Like I need draft capital, and also I need to watch film on there because I'm not there yet. Like with that, at least like Brock Bowers, I know I'm comfortable saying that Brock Bowers is a #4 prospect in this draft class. Honestly, I think it might be overall. I don't think the pass rushers are as great as like we have been. Joe Alt is very good. I think it's a good offensive line class. But when it comes to playmakers and specifically fantasy purposes, if I'm #4 on the board, I'm probably taking Bowers. And because like running back's not very good this year, so that's where I'm at with Bowers. So yeah.
No, I hear that. I hear that. So here's another question for you: is with Arthur Smith probably getting another year at this thing, how far do you guys go? Like, does he totally drop out of that top 10 tight end role for you guys? Especially with you seeing like how much volatility there is. Like we've seen new names, and this rookie class has been outstanding. But I mean, where do you guys sit as far as Pitts going top 10 next year? Do you think it's a lock, or do you think it's kind of a little iffy?
It depends on Goddard for me and Kittle. I don't know where Chuck's at.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel pretty good. I mean, but like the big thing is that like, what's the quarterback situation going to be? And I know you can say that for a lot of guys, but like you really have to say that about the tight end, because I've said over and over again, like there's just not a position that has more out of their control than the tight end position as far as like what their production is going to be, and that's why I have trouble getting excited about somebody like Bowers, because like as unbelievable as he is, I would be as little surprised as anybody on the entire planet if the same thing happened to him somewhere. And I know that this is a pretty prevalent and wild example of what's happening with Kyle Pitts. But I mean, you have to just keep him on the outside with he missed the boat. He missed the boat with the Laporta's coming in and the McBride's coming in and the Kincaid's coming in. Like there's just not enough about what's going on here and enough about him as a player to be overly excited about having him anywhere higher than like 8, maybe 9.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's more quarterback than Arthur Smith for him, for sure, or even Drake London, because like Drake London's still getting peppered with targets, or just shit targets. So I definitely think that could help. I think they're playing themselves out of contention a little bit, so they could at least make a move to go get him. But like I still have him above Evan Ingram, but I don't know. I'm at that point where I'm kind of putting Evan Ingram above there because Evan Ingram leads the Jaguars in targets and is like he's good. Like people are mad at Evan Ingram for being drafted to the Giants. Let's just say it. Like we're mad as hell that he got drafted to the Giants and he sucked for 3 years. And to be honest, I think Kyle Pitts is kind of in that same category. Now that I'm thinking about it, like he got drafted to Atlanta and he fucking sucked and we hyped him up and he's like, he didn't produce. So we're kind of waiting on that. So that's an interesting study. We'll move to the next one. Tony Pollard, KTC, he's right underneath Kyle Pitts at 76 and he's running back 16. That is a hard fall. That is a hard fucking fall. Like Rashad White, I think is above him now. I need to load that up. He was your boy, Chuck. So I'm going to let you start this one.
This one is devastating to me on a lot of different levels because like it was right about everything except for the most important thing, which was just like this is another one where I just do not feel almost like Trevor Lawrence earlier, where I'm just like, I don't put hardly any of the blame on the player here. He's being used so poorly. He's been giving some very, very, very head scratching usage. And he's still recovering from a pretty brutal injury that we're seeing a lot of other players have some trouble to get back from, at least at the same speed. So as far as his ability and his talent going forward, I mean, his game logs from these blowout games where you would think the Cowboys are dropping 40 points on people, but I mean, they're pulling him out before they even get halfway through the third quarter. So it's like, it's like Kyle Pitts. The situation is very rare and I don't see it continuing. It cannot get any worse than this. So I identify this as a pretty significant buy now because just based upon what I'm seeing around the league, unless you're talking about like an A-Chain or you're talking about a Mitchell or you want to throw a CMC in there, I still don't think there's anybody that's shown me peak explosiveness like what we've seen out of Tony Pollard in the past. So if we can get him back to that and we can get him, 25 carries, 23 carries like he was getting earlier in the year, you're still looking at a home run guy.
Yep. Yeah, because like I asked this on Twitter and I think I got it like maybe 1 or 2 responses about specifically a dynasty asset because like redraft we're fucked at least this season. And like someone said he's an RB, he's a running back on a 1-year deal who turns 27 this offseason. He was never a long-term asset. And I'm starting to kind of agree with that, to be honest. So
I mean he's got his mileage. His mileage is encouraging. You just got to, you just have to, just like any running back, you just have to hope and pray that their situational fit allows them to maximize their opportunity as opposed to a wide receiver, which you can basically just plug and play and they're going to earn targets.
Yep. Like basically, and this is me just, again, these are just 2 things. They're not, we had a big talk in the football guys chat about like keep trade cut if it matters, but like it's just Twitter and then looking at what keep trade cut has it. He's in that he's a high end RB2 because he's in a good offense range. That's it. Like, and that's kind of like definitely he's like not a long-term asset because he has 27. And again, my big lessons this year about going against my process is like fading someone like Tank Dell when their film tells me they're a fucking beast. And I should never buy running backs on second contracts, especially on injury, because I bought Tony Pollard in 2 leagues and I feel like an asshole. Okay. We got
I'll just ask real quick, like gut reaction. Like, where do you guys have him compared to like a Saquon and an Alvin Kamara?
Behind both of them.
Saquon.
Behind both of them for sure.
Yeah. And
I mean, even with Kamara, I mean, Kamara shows no real shine of like weakness. This offense still completely flows through him. Like, I mean, you want to say Kamara has the same attributes as Tony Pollard. He's getting up there in age. He's got that second contract, but he's just kind of been able to beat it all. I mean, I don't know whether it's the suspension has kept him fresh or what, but, he's been doing phenomenal. I think he's on pace to outpace every running back as far as targets go, at least, if not receptions this year. And he's been -4 games. Like,
because that's the reason I bring that up is because watching him makes me feel like watching end of the year Kamara last year, where I'm just like, this isn't looking so good. And then they come out, they make some proper adjustments. He gets a little time to kind of, get his shit together in the offseason. And he comes out this year and you're just like, bang. That's what I'm hoping for. Now I'm hope hard to put a percentage number on hope, but that's the pathway forward here.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping that, like, it's almost like Javonte Williams. Like, Javonte Williams has slowly been good this year, but last year he was terrible fresh off of the ACL surgery.
I was going to give you some would you rathers, Justin. Tony Pollard I was like Tony Pollard or David Montgomery.
David Montgomery.
Take Tony.
Yeah, that was easy. Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
David, just because
I think it's
Tony can bring something to the offense that David Montgomery is in the perfect offense for him. Only problem is somebody more perfect came along. So we'll see how long that lasts.
David Montgomery's been good everywhere he's been at, even with Chicago he was a fantasy producer. I don't get why everyone hates him.
No, it's not hate. It's not hate. It's not hate. And I'm a Tony. I like David Montgomery a lot. I just don't think he can do the things Tony Pollard can do.
Yeah, I mean,
and they're about the same age. So
yeah, I think actually David Montgomery's a year younger.
No, he's not. He's like 1 month younger.
Mm-hmm.
Is he really? I thought he was like 26.
Yeah. Tony Pollard's 26 and a half. David Montgomery's 26.4. So that's like probably less than a month. Like, if anything.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Rashad White or Tony Pollard? This is a weird one because like it's Rashad White is apparently a better receiver and just a dog shit rusher. And like, I don't understand rushing yards over expected because like, I don't know what they expect behind this fucking offensive line. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I'll give you this one.
Yeah. Rushing yards over expected is really tough because it's not a sticky stat year to year. There's too much involved. And I know they try to say that everything they can do to take everything out of the equation except for the running back. But even the creators of the statistic have the disclaimer in there that like we've found that this is not a consistent stat year to year, yada, yada, yada. Dalvin Cook top 5 in it, 2021. If I'm not mistaken, bottom 3 in it in 2022. I mean, like, it just goes like that, right? Now, that could be the running back. It could not. But, yeah, Rashad White, not a very talented runner, amazing in space with the ball, which, equates to a terrific pass catcher. But, I mean, nobody's going to be – it's like, how can you tell me how good this guy can be as a rusher when he is still in one of the worst rushing offenses going back to the 2021 the Buccaneers time. So it's hard to properly evaluate some of these guys given their circumstances and age.
Yeah. Well, another one, and this is a weird one, is Ramondre and Tony Pollard. And I know it sounds gross. I think I'd rather have Ramondre. Like, he's just getting more production overall in an even worse circumstance. Like, it's like even fucking worse over there. And I feel like
that one I agree with.
Productive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're right. He cannot be right now. He can't be stopped at either rushing or receiving. He's not getting tackled for loss. He's not getting tackled immediately as he catches the pass. Like, he is making shit happen, which is crazy in New England right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like he's significantly lower than Pollard. I think that's like way off. Like again, the keep trade cut is just like a barometer, not the barometer. Tony Pollard 77, Ramondre is 90, and like the RB 22, whereas Tony Pollard is RB 16. And I'm like, and maybe it's slow. I just don't think there's that much difference, and I would rather have Ramondre because like again, they're at least going to dump it off to him 6 fucking times, like I'd rather have that, So Calvin Ridley's the last one. Talking about a guy who's yo-yoed like crazy, a lot of expectations. We kind of already hit on it, honestly. And actually, I want to fucking pivot. I want to go to Justin's guy, Jahan Dotson, because we already said what was wrong with Calvin Ridley. We already said enough. Like he's probably, this is his value. He's old as shit. He's not as good as he was anymore. So Justin, Jahan Dotson, Let me go back to wide receivers here in a minute. Go ahead and air your grievances out, and I'll get it pulled up.
All right. So this motherfucker has 2 weeks with a touchdown. He has 2 great weeks, like 15 plus points. And then I put him in the one league that I gotta win to get into the freaking playoffs. And he gives me a fucking goose egg. What are we doing here? What am I looking for? Like, what is wrong with this Skins offense or Commanders offense? Like, I know they can't protect Sam Howell, but like, this is another guy. Can you not find a way to mix him into the slot? Curtis Samuel did not have a big game. He was just out there, and somehow he just takes all of Jahan Dotson's targets. Like, literally, Samuel had 2.5 fantasy points on the day, and Jahan Dotson had 2 targets on the day. What am I missing here? Like, I know he's talented. Is it this offense not being able to find a way to get him involved? Is it this offensive line not giving Sam Howell enough time to get this guy separation so he can get him the ball? Like, you guys need to explain Jahan Dotson, this little freaking problem that we have going on here, because this guy, I'm borderline about to toss his ass to the waiver wire on my redraft leagues. I don't want to do it because I know he's talented, but I can't do it with like zeros on a weekly basis. And he's giving me more zeros than anybody else. He's giving me more zeros than my paycheck gives me.
Yeah, it's offensive line is definitely a problem for everybody. And it's made Sam Howell a difficult evaluation for me because a lot says that he's pretty good, but a lot says he could be dog shit. And like, this is something that I need to take a lot more time than I have been to analyze the data and, most importantly, look at the film. But I digress. The big thing for me with Jahan Dotson is I don't think Eric Bieniemy's that good, man. And I think that I think they like using these little gadget guys instead of scheming up things for actual receivers. And I think this is a Ron Rivera and a Bieniemy problem. Like, Ron Rivera fucking loves Curtis Samuel, man. He loves Curtis Samuel. So like, I just like, I that's kind of a correlation thing. Like, I don't know if it's causation or something like that, but when Jahan Dotson had his good games, Curtis Samuel was out, and then Curtis Samuel came back, and Jahan Dotson went away. Chuck, what are your thoughts on the Jahan Dotson problem?
Kind of agree with what you guys said, which is crazy because it's kind of not that you're conflicting, but it's just there's a lot of people to point at in this one. The line is horrible, but also Sam Howell, he doesn't exactly progress through his reads. He kind of just does the sandlot run around and waits for the big play to develop down the field. I mean, you're looking at the game against the Seahawks. He threw for 300 yards. He didn't have a wide receiver go over 40. Like, Brian Robinson has 119 yards. Logan Thomas is chucking 40. Like, he's not hyper focusing in on anybody, and he's not really operating a pro style offense. Eric Bieniemy coming over from Kansas City, it's like, okay, you show me one person who's had success coming out of Kansas City and going somewhere else, because there's like this Mahomesian Andy Reid like avatar flow where they're plugged into like the system and like their minds are melting and doing shit that like other teams can't even think of. So you try to bring that to like an old school Ron Rivera who's still playing in like 2012. Like, the nickname Riverboat Ron is ironic. It's because he's super conservative and isn't capable of putting out like this like evolutionary offense or even like stepping into the game. And is Bieniemy suffering from that? Maybe, or maybe Bieniemy just isn't good enough to be the guy to pull Ron Rivera into the future. So it's just like, I feel like every guy we've talked about, it's so hard to properly evaluate the situation. But yeah, Curtis Samuel is definitely a big part of it.
You nailed something.
Go ahead.
You kind of put into words what I was trying to say. Essentially, here is that I can't evaluate Sam Howell because I can't see him operate in a fucking functional offense. Like, I can't see him go through a progression and like make a good decision because it's such a nightmare and he's like making it happen. So like, I don't know how much of him is where he's a gamer like Johnny Manziel and like old school Baker is. And like, how much can he actually operate like an NFL quarterback? Like, I don't fucking know, because it's like as soon as the ball snapped, it's like fucking chaos, you know? So
it's pain.
Yeah, he's a lot of
pain
Jeremy
and suffering.
Lin. He's a lot of insanity when that shit was going on, because it would just be like random scoring occurrences. But everybody forgets he was on a fucking terrible team. So it's like, oh yeah, he got tons of minutes to just go out there and ball. And he would wind up with 25 points a night. And it was short lived. It lasted about 50 games and he was done afterwards. But I will say this. There's a reason Eric Bieniemy does not have a job right now. And I think that's because people realize that it's more Andy Reid like guiding that offense than Eric Bieniemy. I think that they realized that maybe he was just an assistant who was just maybe a little bit more conservative, a little bit lazy, and kind of is resting on his laurels of, hey, I won 2 titles with the Chiefs. What have you done for me now? Like, what have you done for me as the Commanders OC? Like, it's great that your quarterback throws for 300 yards, but I mean, that's because your freaking offensive line can't give him any time to actually, see the field, process it. He has to always step outside, which I think, honestly, on that level, Sam Howell is actually playing great, because at North Carolina, he did the exact same thing. When the offense changed, he changed. And that's what I've always liked about Sam Howell, and that's why I raved about Sam Howell. When the offense went short, he started throwing like real quick releases. When he had De'Ami Brown at North Carolina, he was actually seeing the field and letting stuff develop. He's kind of in that way with Washington, but I'm still borderline. Is he Brock Purdy 2.0, or is he Mac Jones, later on? Like, is he going to is it going to fall off? Are the wheels going to completely fall off at some point?
To be honest, I think my comp right now is Gardner Minshew. And I know that sounds
nice
I know that's crazy or anything like that. It's just like, I think these guys are serviceable. And like, again, these guys are like, they're going to try to win, and they got a lot of heart. And like, to me, they're the ultimate backup, but I don't know if Sam Howell's a franchise quarterback right now. And and it's like, and it's weird that I give, like, again, giving some people advice, like full blown disclaimer. I have zero excuse to tell people not to buy Sam Howell. So when you give a trade, they're like, I feel like I can't rake him, but I can't get myself to want to fucking buy him. I can't say that I feel good going out and getting this going to be a stable asset. That's why, like, I feel like he's one of the hardest, like, hard to rank, hard to value. I just like, what the fuck is Sam Howell? Like, I don't know what it is.
I couldn't agree more, sadly.
Well, we'll end it there, folks. We'll be back next week. Hopefully Andrew will be back with us. We have Jesus with us this week. You could find him, Justin Herrera, at SimTexMex93, and he's over on our main flagship show. And then there's Chuck Bass, host of This Guy Sucks, and always and also another fantasy show along with me over on Dynasty DJs. And then there's me, Fantasy Blue Chip. You can find me on Football Guys and on the shows that I said earlier, because I don't want to repeat myself. With that being said, we'll see you guys next week. Love you, and no trade deadlines.